Imagine looking at Earth from outer space. A massive blue planet, calm and silent, turning slowly in the endless dark. Then the camera begins to dive through the clouds across Asia, locking onto India, and pushing closer until one of the most violent landscapes on Earth rises into view. The Himalayas. Here, the mountains are not just high, they are brutal. Cliffs rip through the land,
like the planet itself has been torn open. Canyons plunge so deep they seem to swallow the light.
And the wind howls through the valleys with enough force to crush anything humans dare bring into it.
And right in the middle of that impossible wilderness, humanity decided to build a bridge.
Not just any bridge, but the highest railway bridge in the world.
So high that even a giant tower beneath it would still make the train look like it is floating in the sky.
So high that from the bridge deck, the Chenab River below looks like nothing more than a thin silver ribbon,
cutting through stone and mist. A staggering 359 meters above the riverbed.
But height is only one part of the story. What truly turned this structure into a legend is the place where it had to be built. Inside an isolated gorge on fractured, unstable mountain geology. In one of the harshest terrains engineers have ever faced. A place where, in the beginning, there was not even a proper road to reach the site.
And yet, this was where they had to bring in 30,000 tons of steel.
They had to haul heavy machinery up dangerous mountain roads.
They had to suspend giant steel components in mid-air.
They had to assemble them with millimeter precision in powerful winds. At terrifying heights, with no support rising from the bottom of the valley. This was no longer just a bridge construction story. This was a direct confrontation between human ambition and one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. To turn the impossible into reality, India pursued this project for more than 2 decades. 20 years of surveying, 20 years of blasting roads into mountains, 20 years of pushing human engineering to the absolute limit. Day by day, inch by inch, the structure began to take shape.
Precision was critical. A single millimeter off, and the entire arch would fail to close.
Massive components were forged, tested, and welded with absolute perfection. Work never stopped. Day and night, the mountain echoed with the sounds of creation. The real challenge began when it was time to string the cables across the void. Deep anchors had to be driven into the solid rock to hold the massive pylons. Before a single piece of the bridge could be placed, the mountain itself had to be bound in steel netting to prevent collapse. Workers clung to the cliffs like spiders, spraying liquid concrete to lock the loose rocks forever.
Deep internal fractures were injected with grout under massive pressure.
This giant underground star acts as the central anchor for the arch foundation. With the mountain secured, the colossal concrete thrust blocks were finally poured.
Thousands of cubic meters of specialized concrete were required, day after day.
Every single reinforcing bar was inspected manually
to ensure zero flaws.
Finally, the colossal twin pillars rose from the dust, defying the impossible slope. Vibrating tools purge every air bubble, turning liquid stone into a solid anchor.
To begin the arch, they had to cross the void first, a temporary suspension bridge.
They erected the largest cable crane system in the world to carry steel pieces over the abyss. Using advanced 3D modeling, engineers mapped exactly how the arch would bend and lock.
Wind tunnel tests subjected scale models to hurricane forces, ensuring stability. The design was flawless, an elegant mesh of steel bracing holding up the sky.
The twin cable towers stood ready to carry the heaviest loads imaginable.
Working high above the clouds, men welded pieces together as if defying gravity. At sunset, the cranes stood like silent sentinels, waiting for the massive steel to arrive.
In areas impossible to reach, heavy-lift helicopters dragged the guide cables across.
Workers on the edge reeled in the first lifeline, establishing the vital link. Steel cables thicker than a man's arm were winched tight.
Engineers rode the suspension trolley across the canyon, surveying the deadly drop. Massive hoists lowered down into the dark, ready to grab the first steel beams.
Prefabricated segments, weighing hundreds of tons, were lifted as if they were toys.
Piece by piece, the arch jutted out further into nothingness, defying gravity.
Lowering the segments required millimeter control. One gust of wind could spell disaster. Workers swarmed the joints, battling the swaying steel to drive the locking pins home.
Once aligned, the joints were locked with massive bolts, securing the mountain to the bridge. It was a team effort of sheer willpower, battling vertigo and extreme forces to build the arch. As the two halves of the arch crept closer, the final closure piece was lowered into the gap.
The alignment was perfect.
But the work wasn't over. Every single bolt had to be permanently tightened and inspected. Sparks flew like fireworks as the final welds permanently fused the massive arch into one unbreakable spine. With the arch complete, the vertical pillars were lowered, rising from the curve to support the deck. Piece by piece, the deck segments were aligned, forming a straight path above the curved abyss.
Hundreds of workers coordinated their every move, dragging the final beams into lock position.
The final bolts were torqued, sealing the massive horizontal span permanently to the support towers. With the deck finished, the meticulous process of laying the railway tracks began.
The final beams of the road deck were lowered, connecting the vast expanse. Standing proudly above the clouds, the completed arch was a monument to human endurance.
30,000 tons of steel, precision engineered to withstand earthquakes and storms, now spanned the gorge. The final tension cables were locked, anchoring the deck against the savage winds.
Every inch of the bridge was inspected under the harshest weather conditions to guarantee absolute safety.
Finally, the bridge stood complete, a silver thread sewing the torn earth back together.
The road deck was paved, laying the foundation for the tracks that would soon carry thousands.
What started as an impossible dream in the Himalayas was now a tangible reality of iron and concrete. Final checks and reinforced welds prepared the tracks for the immense weight of the train. The steel rails themselves were forged to endure temperature extremes and massive friction. The engineers had conquered the canyon. They built a monument to human ingenuity and teamwork. The world's highest railway bridge now stretched out, silent and ready, framed by the majestic snow peaks. Every single rail clip was hydraulically fastened, sealing the iron path to the concrete foundation. And then, the moment of truth. The first train glided across the highest bridge in the world.
A triumph of engineering, suspended between earth and sky, conquering the impossible. A structure born from the harshest environment, now standing as a beacon of connection and progress.
For the engineers, every successful test run is the culmination of decades of tireless dedication.
Riding across the steel Leviathan offers a breathtaking, yet terrifying view of the abyss.
A century of dreaming, decades of engineering, finally realized in iron, sweeping across the sky.
The relentless friction and the extreme weight test every weld and bolt of the structure.
For the local people, the bridge is more than steel. It is a lifeline connecting generations.
Bridging the gap, uniting communities, and proving that humanity can conquer any landscape.
This is not just a bridge of steel. It is a bridge of human spirit.
Decades of planning, millions of hours of labor, etched forever in the history of civil engineering.
A legacy of steel and determination, linking the present to an endless future. Welcome to the story of the highest railway bridge on Earth. The impossible made possible.